Mrs. Reed, back to share another Read Aloud story with you. Today I'm going to read a story called Stone Soup by McGovern. This is actually considered a folk tale, which is very similar to a fairy tale. We've been talking a lot about fairy tales at school. Fairy tales have a lot of things in common. First, they have illustrations, meaning drawings, instead of real pictures like nonfiction books. They're also stories that are pretend or made up. Sometimes they have a little magic in them. And every time we listen to a fairy tale or a folk tale, there's usually something to be learned. There's usually a lesson, meaning the author is trying to teach us something or tell us something. So as usual, sit back, relax, get in your comfy spot, and be ready to be a listener. Sound like a plan? Okay. Stone Soup by McGovern. A young man was walking. He walked and he walked. He walked all night. He walked all day. He was tired and he was hungry. At last, he came to a big house. "What a fine house," he said. "There'll be plenty of food for me here." He knocked on the door. A little old lady opened the door. "Good lady," said the young man, "I'm very hungry. Can you give me something to eat?" "I have nothing to give you," said the little old lady. "I have nothing in the garden. I have nothing in the house." And then she began to close the door. "Stop," said the young man. If you can't give me something to eat, could you give me a stone?" "A stone?" said the old woman. "What will you do with a stone? You cannot eat a stone." "Ah," said the young man, "I can make soup from a stone." We're going to make soup today. Now, the little old lady had never heard of that. Make soup from a stone? Fancy that. "There are some stones in the road," said the little old lady. The young man picked up a round gray stone. "This will make a wonderful soup," he said. "Now, get me a pot." She doesn't look really certain, does she? Kind of like, what? The little old lady got a pot, and she filled the pot with water. "Now put it on the fire," said the young man. The old lady did as she was told, and soon after, the water was bubbling in the pot. She still doesn't really look certain, does she? But I bet she's curious. The young man put the round gray stone, it's kind of oval, into the pot. "Now we'll wait for the stone to cook in the soup," he said. The pot bubbled and boiled. And after a while, the little old lady said, "This soup is cooking fast." "It is cooking fast now," said the hungry young man. "But it would cook a lot faster with some onions." So the little old lady went into the garden to get some onions. Oh my, she got a lot of onions. And into the pot went the yellow onions with the round gray stone. Let's put our onions in our soup. That's all it could carry. Oh, you got that? The pot bubbled and bubbled. Soup from a stone? Said the little old lady. Fancy that. And after a while, the little old lady said, "This soup smells good." "It smells good now," said the hungry young man. "But it would smell better with some carrots." So the little old lady went out to the garden and she pulled up all the carrots she could carry. And into the pot went the long, thin carrots. That's all I could carry. The yellow onion and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the old lady. Fancy that. After a while, the little old lady said, "Ooh, the soup tastes good." So she must have tasted it with her spoon. "It tastes good now," said the hungry young man, "but it would taste better with beef bones." So the little old lady went to go get some juicy beef bones. I don't have any bones. Into the pot went those juicy beef bones with the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the old lady. Fancy that. The pot bubbled and bubbled. And after a while, the lady said, "This soup is fit for a prince." "It's fit for a prince now," said the young hungry man. "But it would be fit for a king if we had a bit of pepper and a handful of salt." So the little old lady got the pepper and the salt. And into the pot went a bit of pepper, a handful of salt, the juicy beef bones, the long thin carrots, and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the old lady. Fancy that. The pot bubbled and bubbled. And after a while, the little old lady said, "The soup is a little too thin." Look at that soup. She's got a lot going on in there. I bet it smells really good, and I bet they are super hungry by now. "It's too thin now," said the hungry young man, "but it would be nice and thick with some butter and some barley." He seems to have a plan here. So the little old lady went to get the butter and the barley. And into the pot went the butter and the barley and the pepper and the handful of salt and the beef bones and the thin carrots, the yellow onions and the gray stone. So what she's working on right there, that's called a butter churn. That's how they used to make butter. So she's working pretty hard for somebody who didn't have any food. "Stone from a soup," said the old lady. Fancy that. The pot bubbled and bubbled, and after a while, the little old lady tasted the soup again. And she said, "Yeah, this is good soup." "Yes," said the hungry young man, "this soup is fit for a king. Now we can eat." "Stop," said the little old lady. "This soup is indeed fit for a king, but I need to set the table that will be fit for a king." So she took out her best tablecloth and her best dishes. Then the little old lady and the hungry young man ate all the soup. The soup that was made with butter and barley and a bit of pepper and a handful of salt and juicy beef bones and long thin carrots and yellow onions and the round gray stone. Are you hungry? Because I'm hungry. Soup from a stone? Said the little old lady. Fancy that. Now I must be on my way, said the young man. So he took the stone out of the pot. Oh, it's my stone. He took the stone out of the pot and he put it in his pocket. Why are you taking the stone? Said the little old lady. Well, said the young man, the stone is not cooked quite enough. I'll have to cook it some more tomorrow. And the young man said goodbye. Cooking it more tomorrow. She looks a little bit confused. I think she's thinking about that. He walked on down the road. He walked and he walked. What a fine supper I'm going to have tomorrow, he said to himself. Soup from a stone. Fancy that. I'm wondering if he actually needed that stone for the soup. Tell me what you think the next time we chat about this story. If you thought that that stone was important to the soup, or how it was important to the soup. Thanks for being listeners and tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.